Massive changes to loadouts, to dead silence, stopping power, lethal equipment, tactical equipment, the circle, all of the information you could possibly want about all of the different map locations for the new map. We've had a ton of info just dropped about the Warzone Pacific map Caldera, and in this video I'm going to take you through everything that's been happening with Call of Duty this week, and especially focusing on all of the details to do with the new map that's launching next week. So starting with some of the news that we've had, last Wednesday Sledgehammer Games put out a tweet that kind of addressed some of the lack of communication they've had. In that tweet they said, "We're committed to supporting our team as well as you, the player. We want Sledgehammer Games to be a safe and welcoming place for everyone, and we use our channels to update you about the game as well as our commitment to moving forward." And then they go on to thank people for the support they've shown and talk about a couple of the issues that they know people have had with Vanguard. This is really positive. Like, we know that the different Call of Duty teams haven't been communicating much, partly because of what was going on with Activision Blizzard, partly because of the fact that it's been Thanksgiving and they had the week off, and now we're getting to the part where now they're going to start communicating a lot more, and we've seen that today. There's been a huge amount of information drop about Warzone today, and I'd expect to see stuff happening about zombies over the next week or so, as well as what's happening with Season 1 in Vanguard. Remember, Season 1 does launch on December 8th at the same time as the new Warzone map, so we're going to be seeing loads more information about that over the next 7 days. And now we get onto all of the new Warzone news, and there's been so much just over the last couple of hours. So it started off with a new map that's been posted, and it's not one on the inside of a jacket, it's like a proper map where it shows you all of the different areas and the names of them, so we can get a sense of how everything fits together. It also has loads of yellow dots, I assume are points of interest that, you know, at some point there'll be one of those like Warzone Atlas type things that explains all of that for us. And then we had a video that came up on Twitter, and this was like a sort of holiday destination advert, like that kind of style. It's pretty cool because it shows us a lot more video of different areas of the map that we hadn't seen before. Loads of verticality in it was one of the things that stood out to me, not just being on rooftops or things like that, but there's actually, like, you know, stone arches and things. It looked very, very cool. J-God noticed that they actually talked about being able to climb up rocks, so maybe that's kind of addressing one of the big problems of Verdansk, those stupid rocks you couldn't climb. But it looked really, really nice. Very, very vibrant, very, very bright. Quite a lot of water in there, and I'll talk a bit more about the water in a little while. Then they also did a fun thing on Twitter where they put out a tweet saying, if you like this, you'll get like your ticket or something like that for Caldera. If you like it, they send you a tweet, they sort of at you from the official Call of Duty account, which is kind of cool. And they give you like a holiday ticket, and it just has like some name on there. And then it also has, interestingly, the date and time that this map's going to go live. And that is 9 AM PST on 8th of December. That works out to be 5 PM in UK time next Wednesday. Now, let's have a look at that blog post, which gives us so much more information, not just about the new Pacific map, but also the changes that are coming to Warzone next week. So this is the blog, and you can read it yourself if you want to read every single last individual detail, but I'm going to point out some of the cool things. First of all, they have this image where I see we've got the new operators on here. I'm assuming they are, with some of the new guns maybe. I don't know anything about guns. If you know what these guns are, please let me know in the comments. And then they talk a little bit about stuff. They show that map again, and then they've got some of the different areas. So you've got Naval Arsenal, which is like a dock type thing. The Industrial Docks, which is shipment. That should look familiar to everybody. Then you've got Runway, which I think Runway is kind of interesting, particularly when it talks about there being a military command center with its own share of secrets in the jungle. Obviously, any kind of Easter egg stuff like that I'm interested in. When this goes live at 5 PM next Wednesday, I'll be dropping in. The first thing I'll be doing is going to all of these places I'm going to talk about now and trying to see if there's any Easter eggs or anything like that live already. Then there's this nice ruins area, which has sort of like tiered pools and verdant hot springs. Then there's the phosphate mines. Now this looks particularly interesting because it talks about there being a redacted with its own redacted. Could that be a bunker or a silo, or I don't know what that's going to be, but that's probably the first place we're going to check out. Then you've got Peak, which is at the top of the volcano, and this talks about there being something in the magma chamber, so something being built during its slumber. So I'm really hoping there's going to be, you know, like a Dr. Evil style base in the top of the volcano. That'd be pretty cool. Then we've got Beachhead, which it has like a load of emplacements and stuff like that. Not sure if you're going to be able to use any of these big bits of artillery, but that'd be pretty cool. We've got the River Village, which looks a little bit like the areas in Vietnam that we played in Black Ops Cold War. We've got the Clearwater Lagoon, where you've got this really nice lighthouse, And one of the things I like about this, it talks about traverse the Lagoon to uncover its secrets, including what remains of Captain Butcher's plane. So that sounds like we're going to have some kind of secrets in there to have a look at. Then the Caldera Terminal, which is like the large airport. I really like the fact the ATC has stairs going all the way around the edge rather than just a zip line going to the top. We've got the Agricultural Centre, which is, I guess, farms. The Sharklet Submarine Pen, which sounds like something out of G.I. Joe. This does talk about there being a bunker compound, but I'm not sure if it just means because these are all like reinforced buildings, or whether there's actually going to be an underground bunker type system going on there. We have the Caldera Power Plant, where you can see that there's a very familiar radio antenna there, but this is the power plant, which has some nice waterfalls going all the way through the middle. The Capital City, which is a really cool style building, a big clock tower on the top. It talks about there being a yacht club and a bar. The Royal Cabana Resort. Now this has something I don't think is going to be an Easter egg, but it's kind of interesting. It talks about the grounds of the resort being large and lush with shallow pools, ferns and palm trees to thoroughly explore. Thoroughly explore makes me think that there's something hidden in there. I'd really like it if they launched this map and had the intel coming back where there's like hidden objects around. I think that'd be very cool. I think I've gone through this in a video before, but basically there's going to be one playlist that is just for Vanguard stuff. So just Vanguard vehicles, weapons, all of that sort of stuff. And then there's going to be a separate one, which is just going to be like normal Warzone. So you've kind of got two different experiences at the beginning. Obviously you've got all the operators, weapons and personalization stuff is coming over. So all of the operators, calling cards, emblems, weapons, all of that stuff are going to be put into Warzone on that day. And then Vanguard Royale is that playlist where you're only going to have Vanguard experiences on that. And that's available to everyone on December 9th, but people who have Vanguard are going to be able to play it on December 8th. And it talks about some of the changes here, like some of the things they're doing differently from the normal Battle Royale. So obviously planes are probably the biggest one, and you're going to have like AA guns and things like that. It also talks about the fact that the circle collapse is going to change differently. It sounds like it's going to be very similar to what's been happening with the Secrets of the Pacific stuff and the event that's been going on, the Operation Flashback event, where the circles are going to change so there's more circles and there's an event every time the circle comes in, which I think is cool. I've enjoyed that a lot. Then Rebirth Island. Here, there's a really strange thing here where they've used a screenshot that looks to be the old version of Rebirth Island, as in the more modern version of Rebirth Island, where you can see there's construction over there and all of those buildings are missing over there. I'm not sure if this is just an old screenshot or whether we're getting back to that version. I mean, it doesn't really matter, like the two versions of the map are incredibly similar to each other, but I thought that was kind of strange anyway. So it talks about the fact that Rebirth Island is going to be available at the very beginning on December 8th, while people who don't have Vanguard can't play the new map, but they also can't play Verdansk. But then it talks about the idea that it's going to be going and then returning again later in Season 1. So it sounds like we're going to have a little while without Rebirth Island. Then there's some changes, and it talks about changes to Warzone experience, and I think this is a really, really important part of it. I think this is really interesting. So these are some of the changes that they're talking about. The first one is the Gulag. The Gulag is going to change to the way it was in Iron Trials, where whatever weapon you used in the Gulag, whichever one you were given in the Gulag, you get to take with you if you win the Gulag and respawn. You also keep the ammo that you had and any tacticals or anything. So if, say, you have stun grenades and you use them up, you won't have them when you respawn. This can be really interesting, because obviously you could get into the Gulag with a really good weapon, and then that'll be awesome when you come back, or you could be given something absolutely useful. You know, it could be like you'll be given a knife or something. So that's going to be really interesting to see how that works. But in Iron Trials, that was fun. I don't think there's any problems with that. Now on to some really massive changes. Dead Silence is being nerfed, so I'm guessing, I don't know whether that means it won't last as long or it won't quieten you down quite as much as it does. But Stopping Power's gone. I'm so glad about this, because I always thought Stopping Power was stupid. There's no way to counter it. You had no idea if an enemy was using Stopping Power. It was just luck as to whether someone found it or not. So I'm glad that's gone. They've also talked about things like nerfs for stun grenades and heartbeat sensors. Dual-wielded melee weapons are going to be nerfed as well. So all of those kind of things are going to be a lot less potent, they say, in Warzone. And gun butting's no longer the primary method of attack on the Caldera. So it sounds like they want to nerf melee, which I talked about in a previous video, that I really don't like the fact that when you first drop, rather than scrambling for a gun, a lot of the time it's better just to sort of hit people to death with your gun. It seems like that's going to be nerfed as well, which is good. Loadout drop markers are going to change massively. You won't be able to buy them until the first free loadout drop occurs. So that means no more sort of like trying to quickly rush around and get enough money at the very, very beginning to buy in a loadout. Instead, you're going to be like maybe still getting money if you want to, but just making do with ground loot until that first loadout drop. I really like this because it means people are going to use ground loot a little bit more. It means that until that first loadout drop, you know everyone's on a sort of level playing field just using the ground loot. I always like the idea of ground loot being more important, and this seems to do that, so I think that's really, really good. And it also says several lethal and tactical equipment pieces will see much needed buffs. Lethal equipment's going to deal more damage. Snapshot grenades are going to have enough radius increase. This is a really cool one as well. Stims will apply a slight movement boost, so you're going to go faster if you use a stim. That could be really good for getting out of the gas and things like that. That's going to be a really interesting one to see how well that works. And a decoy grenade is going to do a tiny bit of damage now, I guess just to give hit markers and stuff, which will make people sort of a bit confused maybe. More good news of gas masks not interrupting as many actions as they did, so it means that you'll be able to sort of plate up and reload weapons and stuff like that while you're in the gas, which is probably a good thing, because that's really annoying if you're on the edge of the circle and you keep on getting your aim messed up by that. It also says gas masks will offer a bit of protection against gas canisters. These are actually something that were in Warzone months and months ago. They appeared for a while, I guess they were being tested, and people like found them in a couple of places and you could throw them, you could light the fuse and stuff like that, and then they got taken away again, and they were never mentioned officially as far as I know. They're coming back, so there's gas canisters that you can find where if you light the fuse you can throw them, or an even more interesting thing is you can actually attach them onto an ascender. So if you think there's some enemies camping the top of a zip line, you can attach one of these gas canisters to it and then it'll explode at the top, and then obviously destroying them, then you can go up and attack them, which is really, really interesting. It says both hands are required to carry it, so if someone's carrying it you can actually shoot it while they're carrying it, which I'm sure will be funny and lead to lots of really cool clips. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. Now onto the water effects. So no swimming, we're still not getting swimming in Warzone, but they talked about the fact you can wade through shallow water, and this makes it harder to see footsteps, so even if you've got a tracker you won't be able to see the footsteps, and if you crouch in it, it's going to give you the cold-blooded effect where you won't show up on like thermal scopes and stuff like that, which is kind of interesting. It also talks about the idea that fire-based equipment like molotovs and stuff will cause a smoke effect when it hits water. They say, speaking of science, I'm pretty sure that doesn't create smoke, just throwing a molotov at water. It creates steam, surely. But anyway, that's what's going to happen now. So that might be a new thing to use if you need to get away or something like that and you happen to have a molotov rather than a smoke grenade. You might be able to do that to create a smoke screen for yourself. Now, they also talk about a few new contracts. One of them is pretty cool. It's a supply drop. So rather than having to go find supply crates in this one, there's going to be a crate drop with valuable loot on it, and everyone will be able to see it, everyone will be able to loot it, but only the team that picked up the contract will know exactly where it is, so they'll have to go find it. There's big game bounty, which is going to target the operator with the highest kill count, but only once per game. So that'll be an interesting thing if you feel brave and you want to take on whoever's been killing the most people. I'm guessing it will give you more than just a normal bounty. And there's another one called Top Secret, which looks like it gives you one of the other contract types, but maybe a slightly tougher one, maybe a slightly one with a bit of a twist. Maybe it'll have like a shorter timer for a bounty or something like that, but it will give you greater rewards. Then it talks about the fact that there's going to be some of those sort of event type things you have in Rebirth, so restocks, resurgences, cash drops, and there's also the redacted weapon crates that are going to drop, which, they just drop down around the map, and if you get them, sometimes you get a special gun that's got loads of attachments, stuff like that. Then in the blog, the rest of it's not as interesting. They talk about the fact that Ricochet's coming, which we already knew about, so the Ricochet driver is going to come out on the 8th, only for Warzone. It's not going to be attached to Vanguard quite yet. And then they talk about the secrets of the Pacific event, which I've already got a video on how to do all of that if you want to check it out on my channel. And then they also talk about the fact there's going to be more Season 1 intel inbound. And they say that, okay, Caldera and Warzone Pacific are just the beginning for all the free content to be offered. Head back here soon and expect to learn about the 2 free functional weapons, new operators, zombies content, multiplayer modes, and 2 maps coming on December 8th, including a fan favourite map. So the fact that they mentioned zombies content's kind of interesting. I'm wondering if it'll be a different mode maybe. I'm worried it'll just be something like, that one where you have to kill the zombies, and if you don't kill them for too long, you die. It could be something a bit rubbish like that. But it does talk about also later in the season we'll get more information on what's coming soon in zombies. I still think Season 2 is really going to be like the proper launch of zombies. So hopefully we'll find out some more about that. And then they talk about there being a Christmas event. So hopefully you found all of that very interesting. I I'm really hyped about this. I'm really excited about how much info they gave us all about the map and those changes coming to Warzone. I think are really, really exciting. Like, they're genuinely going to change the game up a lot. Let me know in the comments what you think about all of this. What do you think about all this news? Is there stuff you're really excited about? Stuff that maybe you think is a mistake? Let me know in the comments. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Goodbye.